Thank you very much, Rashid. I'm really proud of you. And in fact, my day is made today by what I'm seeing. I must appreciate you for the privilege you've given to us to contribute to this conversation.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I also want to acknowledge, the privilege, of being in a forum like this with our one of our respected professors, my teacher too, Professor Ayo Jebode. He has really laid the foundations and done justice to the issue. All we just need to do is just to kind of do some amplification on the issues that have been raised. Yes, talking about protests, as has been rightly, identified and discussed by the key participants, when we started, you discover that there is a key issue here. The protest arises basically most times as a result of poor reading of public opinion. Before issues burst out to the level of generating a crisis or contestation, as it were, there will have been some rumblings in the background. Rumblings in the sense that there will have been some issues, discussions on whether to be or not to be, whether people really are making some points that the political leaders are not really acknowledging or taking action on. So the question now is that most times when protests erupt, it erupts as a kind of involuntary action. And the involuntariness of protest makes some variables to be untracked. I mean, we cannot track it because it's like you are just responding to impulses and situations as they arise. Yes, granted, we can have a foreknowledge and we can also we can plan, as Professor Jebode said, we can plan for protest and moderate it as it goes along. But most times, our experiences have shown really that the most of the protests on this part of the world erupt, spontaneously, and as a result of the spontaneity of protests, a lot of the dynamics catch us unaware. For instance, we know that when protests erupts like that, one of the key things that happens is the dysfunctionality in information and communication management. The truth becomes the first casualty, as in war. And then in that situation, to protest assumes the nature of war of a sort. And when it is war, everybody tries to push his idea at the public space, irrespective of whether what we're doing is ethical or not. In war, all is fair. Those who are pushing out information and those who want to control or manage the channels or the instruments of communication. Everybody is involved. And that leads a kind of credence to this assumption by the social information warfare life cycle model, that everybody now sees information as a warfare that is seen as an arsenal to manage to push out information at the same time to control it. So now the basic thing that we can really talk about, because we are looking at it from the media angle in terms of empowering our people, how do we empower our people, particularly the journalists, to handle a situation like this? We already have in most of our curricula this question of conflict reporting. But you will agree with me that most of the topics we treat, most of the engagements we have with our students in this area are not quite in tune with the realities of the events that are on our hands, particularly in the context of fact-checking that we're talking about. How many of us, as teachers of prospective media practitioners, even know the sites and the instrument for fact-checking? So there is a need for us to reschool ourselves, maybe through fora like this and other workshops and what have you. Thank God we have organizations like in Nigeria, like the Bawa and some other organizations like that are already neck deep in these aspects of digital literacy, as it were. So we really need to hone our skills afresh to deepen our knowledge, so to enable us to really equip our prospective graduates or students, as it were, on how to process information and ensure that the information we are giving to the audience, to the people, is really processed and verified as professionals. This is very, very key and very, very important. As also Professor Ojebade mentioned the point that, riots is different from protest. Yes, there is a lot of difference between that, but we discovered that there is, in every protest, there's what called the mob psychology. The protest is a product of mob psychology, and in all mob psychology, you cannot have all the situations under control. By the time you have more than 10 people together, advocating a cause, no matter how pristine your objectives, you cannot predict fully what the reactions of any of the group would be when situations go the other way. And of course, we know that is a right of the modern day, is a right for every the average citizen of today. That, I mean, we even call it political efficacy. This is your tool, to have a say in governance and to have a say in decision-making process. To that extent, we know that protest has become inalienable to us. But at the same time, like Dr. Adesina mentioned, where does your right stop in protest and where does my own begin? All these are the kind of education we need to give, even to our professionals that are in the making. Where you say you are on a protest, you have an agenda you are pushing to the public space. However, in doing this, you block the road. In doing this, you shut down the economy. There are other people who have different goals in the society. Those who have businesses of their own, they will naturally react. And when force meets with force, you never can predict. And this is usually the excuse that government capitalizes on in trying to now quell protest by force. And these are the areas we really need to look at. And I think we are really gaining a lot. Thank you very much.